This video is to help you finish the Excel spreadsheet assignment. We did part 1 in the previous video. Now we're going to do part 2. And part 2 is all about inputting a graph into the spreadsheet. So it's telling you to use the data from table 2, which is the numbers that we have here. Again, X is cakes and Y is cookies. Highlight the numbers, click on the first cell, hold the left button down, and then highlight the other variable values. Go up to the top line in your screen, click on Insert, go over to the possible charts and find the one with the dots. Click on the arrow next to it and pick dots with a line and click, and you get the chart inputted into your spreadsheet. We're going to move it over to the side so it's not covering any other text. We want to add axes labels. So we're going to go to Add Chart, Axis Title, Horizontal, and here we can just type X is cakes and take away Axis Title. We can then go back to Add Chart Element, Axis Table, but now do the primary vertical. You could type down here, but it might be easier to type in the space up here and type variables for Y is cookies and enter, and it's added both of those to our chart. If you move back up to the questions, we've done A and B. Now we need to enter the title. As I said in class, I like to cut and paste, so I'm going to go into the center of this question and copy country B, PBF, PPF with the blank and opportunity cost. Click on copy. Now I'm going to move back down to my chart, and where it says chart title, if I click on that, it creates a box around it, and I can Control V to copy what I've added to my clipboard by the previous step, get rid of chart title, and now I can get rid of the blank and fill in whether this is a increasing opportunity cost or a constant opportunity cost. We know that it's an increasing opportunity cost because it's a curve and not a straight line. So the answer is to add in increasing opportunity cost. And just to remind you, when the curve is very flat here, the slope or the absolute value of the slope would be very small, and where the curve is very steep, it's going to be larger. So the opportunity cost is increasing as the number of cakes produced. And that's another statement would be that at 4 cakes being produced, 1 more cake being produced is going to cost less cookies that can't be made than back here at 2. And at 6, it's going to be more than it was at 4. And at 10, it's going to be more than it was at 8. So the opportunity cost, the number of cookies you cannot make when you make 1 more cake, is becoming a larger and larger number as we move from 0 to 12 in this case. And that's all. Oh, and the last step is to label the points themselves. So if you point at one of the dots and click with the left button, it's going to give you a marker on the dots. Then again, if you click on the same spot, but you now right click, it's going to give you the option to add data labels. So we're just going to add data labels, and it's going to put the numbers, and these numbers are the y-axis values. Again, if you right click, again, highlight one of those and right click, it's going to allow you to format the data labels. We'll click on that, and this menu appears. We're going to say values from cells. This is going to be a space. You could just type C41 colon C46, but instead of having to do the typing, if you use the arrow, it allows you to go over to the graph and highlight the cells that we want to use. As you see there with the other symbols included, it's C1, C41 to C46. Hit enter and then hit OK. It's added those labels A, B, C, D to the points in the graph. And if you take the arrow off the Y value, you'll wind up with just those left. We can X that menu out, and we've completed the requirements for part 2 of the Excel sheet. The requirements for part 3 are related to this graph here and to the data in the 3 tables that we have, A, B, and C. C is actually the numbers for the production possibility frontier, which is the blue line underneath the red and the black line. You shouldn't, except for reading the graph, the table, that shouldn't necessarily come into your calculations for here. So let's go back up. These are values for the line N, and these are values for 2 points on the line H. The first question says fill in the column label slope for line N and fill in labels for slope for line H. You definitely have to go down here to the table into the column labeled slope and type in a formula. So equals means it's going to be a formula. Change in Y over the change in X. So if this is where we wind up, and I forgot, I like to use my open parentheses, then point at the cell minus the other cell above it. So that's the difference in the 2 values for Y. Backslash to mean division. Parentheses again. Point at the cell we're starting with minus the cell above it. Close. And that gives you your formula for the slope of line N. So anywhere on this line, because it's a straight line, the change in hats as you increase bicycles by 1 unit will be a decrease in hats of 1.17. To simplify it, you could, because it's giving you so many decimal places, you can go up here where it says numbers, say this is a number, it gives you a default of 2 decimal places, which is fine, and hit enter, and it just simplifies what's here. If we move down to use this formula in the table above, in the answer column, I recommend that you use the placeholder that's going to tell don't change the column and don't change the row for the values that are listed here. So if you add a $sign in front of the column name, in this case D, and you add it in front of the row number, in this case 64, and you do the same for the denominator. So a $sign before the C, a $sign before 65, a $sign before C, a $sign before 65, hit enter. It's nothing numerically has changed, but we've made information to Excel to say, I can move this formula anywhere in the spreadsheet, and it's going to use these cells for the calculation. So highlight that, copy it to our clipboard, move up here, and fill in the answer by saying paste. And you'll notice that it's copied the formula exactly, and we get the same value here. If I do the same process here, I can do equals parentheses Y minus Y close parentheses slash open parentheses, x minus x, and just make sure that they're in the same order, 72 minus 71, 72 minus 71. So your formula is okay. I have minus 4 here to copy that up above without changing it, put in the $sign. In front of each of the letters and numbers. So it's telling it to use exactly the same cells for the calculation. If I copy this formula and I place it up here and paste by clicking on the clipboard, I get the values for the slope. And again, what this is telling us is that anywhere on the line H, which is this line, if you increase the bicycles by 1, you're going to have to decrease the number of hats by 4. Going back to our questions now, we can see the next question is, what is the slope of the production possibility frontier at C? And also, what is the slope at the production possibility frontier at E? Unlike what I did in class, it actually says we have to have a formula. It turns out that these are the formulas. These are the values. And the whole point of question C and D is to remind you that not only is this calculation that we did the slope of line N, since line N is tangent to the production possibility frontier at C, we have an approximation of the slope of the PPF at C by using the slope of the line N. So in fact, I can highlight that, copy it, and move it down to C. And because we have those $signs in it, the formula is not going to change. And again, the same thing, the production possibility frontier at E, the slope of the production possibility frontier at E, instead of taking the derivative of the curve that gives us the production possibility frontier and evaluating that derivative at the value for E, we're going to approximate that calculation by using the slope of the line N, the slope of line H, which is tangent. And tangent means it doesn't cut through it, it just touches, it just has one point in common. All of the other points on the line H are above the curve. All of the other points of the line N are above the curve. So going back to my list of questions, it's going to be the same slope as the slope of H. So I can copy that and paste it into that answer. Now it's going to ask you, what's the opportunity cost of one bicycle in terms of hats at this point C? And that concept, what we're looking for, is measured by the absolute value of the slope at C. So we have that information right here. We're going, as soon as I say absolute value, the minus sign is going to go away. And we're going to modify it by saying 1.17 hats. So if this country wants to produce one more, they're at point C in terms of their production, they want to produce one more bicycle, they're going to have to give up producing 1.17 hats to do that. And if you look at point E and you say they're producing here, but they want to produce one more bicycle, how many hats do they have to give up? Again, it's going to be the absolute value of the slope of the PPF at E, so it's going to be 4 hats. And this supports our argument that it's increasing opportunity cost because the production at E is producing more bicycles. So we've increased the production of bicycles, but to do it from one more unit at this point, we have to give up 4 hats, whereas one more unit of bicycles at this point only means we have to give up 1.17 hats. So the how many hats you have to give up has increased as the number of bicycles we increase. But the number that we're talking about here is per one bicycle. So the rate of change is the same. And the last two questions relate to the same information, but it's being a little bit more specific. And this is where the table might be helpful. It's just that the numbers down here for your purchasing power parity, it's showing you that these are the values at C, and then these are the values at E for the next question. So that information is captured in the question. If you're producing 1,593 hats, 0.975 bicycles, and then you say that you want to produce 1,597.75 bicycles, you can see that we've increased the number of bicycles by 1. If this is the number of hats at that point that we're producing, how many hats can't we produce to get this one more bicycle? Well, we have the answer right here. It's the opportunity cost. However, the question is, what's the maximum number of hats? So we're going to have to, it's convenient to use a formula, as it says here. We're going to do minus 8,333.25 hats minus 1.17 hats. So the maximum number of hats, if you increase the bicycles by 1, is going to be how many you were producing minus the opportunity cost. So 8,332. And then the same process is here. We're going to say, well, how many hats are we producing now? We're producing 3,600. We're going to produce one more bicycle. So the cost of that one more bicycle in terms of hats is going to be 4 hats. And the answer is going to be that the maximum number of hats we can produce if we're producing one more bicycle is 30,596. And again, in both cases, we got the numbers from the table about what were the coordinates, how many hats and bicycles were we producing at C, how many hats and bicycles were we producing at E, and then the change is one bicycle, and that's by definition the opportunity cost. If I increase the production by 1, then I'm going to have to reduce the hats by the opportunity cost, and that's where we get the numbers. So we use a formula of the coordinate of hats at C minus the opportunity cost. That gives us the maximum number of hats when we've added one more bicycle. This is going to be the maximum number of hats when we start out at point E and increase the production of bicycles by 1 unit. Again, both of these values are talking about what change is required to stay on the production possibility frontier when you've changed the bicycle production by 1. That's the answers to the questions for the Excel assignment. I hope this helps.